how I ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened was, I got a email from somebody from the local studio in Rome, Wildfire, and it's a movie studio, and they said Paolo Sorrentino wants you to be in his next HBO series called The Young Pope. And I knew nothing about it. I didn't know Paolo Sorrentino. I didn't know about being a American Cardinal. I didn't know anything about it. I never wanted to be an actor. Never wanted to be in movies. Of all the goals I've had in my life, and they've ranged from everything from winning a Pulitzer to winning the Heisman Trophy, being an actor was not one of them, okay? So I said, okay, what the hell? I'll do it. I'll do it. So I went down, and they said, look, I wrote them back, and said, yeah, I'll do it. What do I have to do? Well, come on down, and we'll see if you are right for the role. I said, okay, fine. I showed up. I walked in, and she said, you're hired. What? I'm hired? I haven't even spoken yet. You don't need to speak. You just need to stand there. We need a tall person who looks American, and you are a tall person who really looks American. So that started the process of where I was in The Young Pope, and then I was in the sequel, the New Pope, and I actually got some lines in that one, and I got in a lot of scenes in that one. So that's how it happens. I basically got discovered.
Wow.
They dress you up and they stand you there, and it is the easiest job on the planet.
I want it.
It's not only it's easy and it's fun and it's interesting. It's the perfect job. You're human furniture. It doesn't pay great, but it pays enough. It pays. I mean, I'm retired. It pays for my vino. But it's really fun.
Cheers.
Cheers. But it's cheers.
Thank you, Paolo.
It takes it takes a lot of time, and it's really boring, a lot, and then it's really fun. Because when they start shooting and the bullets start flying, it's really kind of interesting, and you're involved in it. It's kind of like a war where you sit around for 2 weeks, and then for about 5 minutes, you're in a battle.
I kind of envy you, right? So in order to get discovered, what do I need to do, and what role do you think I fit?
You have to fit a stereotype. You've got a kind of a gray beard. You're fit. I think you could pass for.
Pizza man?
No, for an Italian, you can piece for ethnic groups. You got to look at ethnic groups.
All right.
Italian, maybe even French.
Yeah.
Not Northern European.
All right. Can I be this big lover sort of? Can I
possibly.
Role, you think?
Possibly.
Like big lover role.
You can't be discovered and be an actor. You discover to be an extra. Okay, and there's two different professions. Yeah. Acting is really, really hard because I did an independent. I've done some lines as my career as an extra evolved. I got more involved in the production, and they gave me some lines. And then in the New Pope, I was in the first scene in the first episode where they tallied the vote for popes, and I had to go up there and give my ballot into the ballot box, and I had to read a scripture in Latin while I was putting that. And Paolo Sorrentino was there, the assistant director was there. It's packed with 120 cardinals from around the world, and all the other extras. I had to nail that line, and that's hard. And it is really hard to sound natural when you read a line 30, 40 times in a night. It's really hard. It's difficult. Yeah. An extra is easy. Anybody can do it. You can do it. I can do it.
Did you actually work with Sorrentino?
Yeah. He actually advised me. There were some scenes where he actually worked with me. Like there was one scene in The New Pope where I was a single cardinal in what was was played as the Vatican Gardens. And we were in Trastevere, which is the Bohemian section in Rome. But there's a big kind of a church complex there. And I was in there, and he told me okay, John, this is how you pray. And he told me how to pray. And it just says, you're praying, just be very intense. And I told him, I said, Paolo, I've never acted in my life. Definitely, I'll be praying. No problem. And he laughed. So I can put on my resume, I can make Paolo Sorrentino laugh.
What about the rest of the team? What about John Malkovich? Was he there?
Yeah, he was there.
All right.
Yeah, he was
How
there.
is he?
Great guy.
Yeah.
Very amiable, talked to a lot of people, posed for photos, easygoing, tremendous
You
actor.
have drinks together?
No, I didn't.
Right.
No, we didn't. At the young pope, at the young pope, at the end, we wanted to get a bunch of Cardinals and Jude Law, who was the star, together, all in our Cardinal robes and the Pope's robes, with all of us holding a bottle of Peroni in front of the camera like this, salute. But we couldn't get everybody together at the time. So that was a missed opportunity. But no, we didn't socialize with them. In fact, they told us, do not fraternize with the actors. Don't talk to them.
Really?
In
Why?
fact, they don't want to be, actors, they told me, are in character and they don't want to break out of character between takes. And with Sorrentino at least, they were doing 9 or 10 takes of the same scene with different angles. Jude Law, there was one scene in the Sistine Chapel where I think he did about 25 takes of one, like a 7-minute speech, and he didn't miss a beat on any of the 25. It was remarkable. If you want to see something, you want to see a hard profession, be an extra in a movie and see how hard these guys work and how good they are. It is mind-blowing. I can't imagine anybody doing that well. I remember one time though, the Vatican, interesting enough, did not let the movie crew film anything in the Vatican. So we had at Cinecittà, the movie studios in Rome, they built up a makeshift Sistine Chapel. And the outdoor part, the balcony of the Sistine Chapel, was outside of the studio. And one time I was walking up through to from one scene to another. I saw Jude Law after he gave this opening speech about what he wanted. And Jude Law is English, and I remember him saying in his speeches, "I want believers," and I said, you have a great New Jersey accent," because he played a New Jersey street guy as the Pope, and he said, "Thank you, and thank this guy," and he pointed this very well set American guy, and he was his accent coach. They have accent coaches. And so that was the closest I came to a conversation with anybody. Diane Keaton once came over, took pictures of us all, and we chatted with her a little bit. That's about it.
John.
What?
Diane Keaton.
Well, she played a nun.
Okay.
And during the scene, she was off on the corner, kind of praying. And I've always thought of Diane Keaton as Woody Allen's sidekick, as kind of the sexy, intellectual East Coast babe, and it was kind of hard to.
Well, she's a West Coast babe.
She might be, but she played in the roles. She played East Coast, New York, intellectual, hardcore women with a little bit of sexiness on the side, and I always a lot. Yeah, I mean a lot. You and I are about the same age. We remember, we both had crushes, and it was hard.
We're not about the same age.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Just to see Diane Keaton in a habit, going like this the entire scene, was hard to picture, because I don't ever picture Diane Keaton ever getting old.
Diane, I don't know if you're watching this.
What?
Respect. John, why Rome? Why are you in Rome?
It's a long story. I lived here for a year and a half from 2001 to 2003 on a sabbatical. And I fell in love with it for 16 months. I fell in love with the city, and I returned to work back in Denver, vowing I would return forever.
To work means being you're a sports journalist.
I was a sports writer.
You're a travel journalist now, but
yeah, I was a sports writer for 40 years.
What attracted you to Rome?
Initially, The lifestyle.
What
It
about
is so much different than America. It is so much more laid back. Italians value, especially Romans, really value spare time, family, friends, good food, good wine, good health.
True.
And I became very attracted to that late in my life. You know, I was a workaholic like all Americans were, and I worked, you know, I would work 7, 8 months without a day off. But now when I moved to Italy for a year and a half, I said, this is what I want. And I really could get into it. Plus, it's the best food and wine in the world. It's gorgeous. The people are the nicest I've ever met.
your favorite Italian word?
My favorite Italian word has always been francobollo, stamp, because it makes me sound Italian. Francobollo. I have a terrible American accent, but francobollo makes me sound like I was raised in Italy.
Yeah, you sound pretty good.
Yeah, and so that
means a stamp.
I love going to the post office.
You're the only one I know.
Yeah.
Your favorite dish?
Pasta matriciana. It's the classic Roman dish. It's very easy. It's a big flavor dish.
Ooh.
It's a Roman comfort food. And if you get the right guanciale, which is pig's cheek, it is superb. And I make a very good one. So that's my favorite.
So I don't need to ask you about your favorite soccer team because I can see why Roma.
Why Roma? It goes back to my days as a sports writer. I was a sports writer for 40 years, and as a sports writer, you can't be subjective. You can't be a fan. I never was. All through my years, 4 decades of sports, I didn't care who won. Well, coming to Rome, I found a team that I could fall for because I was no longer working as a sports writer. And it brought me back to my youth when I grew up in Eugene, Oregon as a fan of the University of Oregon Ducks. But once I started covering the Ducks as a college kid, a college journalism student, I lost my subjectivity. So now here in Rome, I can actually, I can drop my notepad, drop my press pass, actually root for the team. And it's fun. And I can get passionate. I'll forget. My first game.
It's painful.
It's very painful. I now have all kinds of new sympathy for my readers I had for 40 years for the ups and downs they had to go through. And I remember my first game was in January of 2002. And I remember they had a packed house, Roma won, and after the game I was ready to go, and all of a sudden somebody grabbed my shoulders, and we started rocking to Grazie Roma, which is the song they play after every Roma. And 60,000 people refused to leave. And they all sang this one song in perfect pitch. And I never experienced that in anything I've ever experienced as a sports writer. Through 6 Olympics, through 5 World Series, through numerous Final Fours, nothing matched that one anonymous game against Piacenza, and I've been in love with the club ever since. But you're right. As a fan, I've learned there are so many highs, so many ups and downs, that you wonder how these people can go through it. And
it gets emotional.
Yeah, and you get angry, and you get pissed off, you get irrational, which is why I'm really thankful I was emotionally detached as a sports writer, because you can't write the truth if you're emotionally attached to the club. Because after the games, I'm talking to my friends, my fellow Romanisti, and they win and they lose, and they want to execute the entire coaching staff. They win and they want to go invade Turin and Juventus.
Yeah.
So, and I've lived with those emotions, and it's really refreshing at this age, in retirement, to feel like a kid again.
Yeah. So guys, for more from John, visit his blog. What's your blog?
Dog-eared Passport, www.johnhendersontravel.com.
All right. See you later.